Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pondering God. My name is Rambe Jr. Today's episode is titled, In What or Whom Do You Believe? There are none so blind as those who will not see. John Haywood, 1546. Recently, while watching a police procedure from the 1990s, I recognized the lead actress as being a well-known star in both movies and television. Curious, I looked her up to see what other shows she was known for, and then got into the biographical section of her personal story. In an interview she gave, about the time the show was made, she said she was an atheist. 21 years later, in an interview for a well-known magazine, she said, I am quite spiritual. I believed in fairies when I was a child. I still do sort of believe in the fairies and the leprechauns, but I don't believe in God. My first thought upon reading this was a verse from Paul's writings. When I was a child, I used to speak like a child, think like a child, reason like a child. When I became a man, I did away with childish things. 1 Corinthians 13:11. This woman was 66 years of age when she talked about believing in fairies and leprechauns. And what proof did she have for the existence of fairies and leprechauns as opposed to the evidence for the existence of God? I don't blame children for believing in fairies and unicorns, and Santa Claus and Easter Bunny. They usually get this from their parents. But children grow up and become adults, don't they? Why is it so easy for someone in her later adult life to believe in fairies but not in God? It might have something to do with accountability. If you believe in fairies, what is required of you for doing so? Nothing. If you believe in God, however, you cannot escape accountability, which is why, as an unchurched heathen, although I knew there was a God, I wanted nothing to do with him for just that reason. I had things to do and wanted no one telling me I could or couldn't. Not believing in God certainly has nothing to do with proof. Which fairy or leprechaun had 66 books written about them and their activities by 40 different authors over a period of 1,500 years on 3 continents and in 3 different languages? These books that form the Bible record account after account of God interacting with mankind and demonstrating his power. I don't recall reading any first-hand accounts of humans interacting with fairies, or any fairies walking on water, or fairies healing a blind man, or any leprechauns parting the Red Sea. But with all that first-hand eyewitness testimony, people still refuse to believe. Paul wrote in Romans chapter 1, verse 20, For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes, that's God, his eternal power and divine nature have been clearly seen, being understood through what has been made, so that they are without excuse. It's as if people are waiting for God to come down to earth and show himself. Oh, but he did. While he spent time here on earth, Jesus demonstrated his power, his divine nature, through many signs and wonders, and was even raised from the dead. And still, many would refuse to believe in him then, as many still refuse today. I can hardly blame the actress, though. This kind of thinking comes with the territory. Artists in general are inclined not to believe in God, and this includes authors. As a writer, I read many books, and in most instances, the authors of these books, through their protagonists, express a disbelief in, or at best, an indifference to God, and certainly a disdain for those who do believe. While reading a mystery recently, one of the characters was being pursued by someone who intended to kill them. At one point, the author writes this about the pursued. She put on a burst of speed and prayed to God she did not believe in, and to the powers she had decried all her life, prayed for deliverance. How does one pray to that in which they don't believe? Ironic, isn't it? I've heard an old military saying, there are no atheists in foxholes. The idea being that when death is imminent and you're faced with your own mortality, you grasp for anything to hold on to, for someone to save you. And when this reality finally confronts you, fairies and leprechauns are not the answer you seek. When facing death, God becomes very real. It's easy to go through life and ignore God. It's much harder to ignore him when the end of your life is staring you in the face. In Jeremiah chapter 5, verse 21, it says this, Hear this, O foolish and senseless people, who have eyes but see not, who have ears but hear not. In Acts chapter 17, Paul said this to the men of Athens, Therefore, having overlooked the times of ignorance, God is now declaring to men that all everywhere should repent, because he has fixed a day in which he will judge the world in righteousness through a man whom he has appointed, having furnished proof to all men by raising him from the dead. This man, Jesus, Emmanuel, God with us. Throughout history, God has revealed himself again and again. Hebrews chapter 1, verses 1 through 2. God, after he spoke long ago to the fathers and the prophets in many portions and many ways, in these last days has spoken to us in his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, through whom also he made the world. The times of ignorance are over. God has given us all the evidence we need. It's simply a matter of recognizing his authority and realizing that he is God and we aren't. With all the evidence for God, I wonder if those who claim not to believe in God really mean it or are just trying to convince themselves. Ultimately, you can believe in many things and in many people, but there's only one who will save your soul. Psalm chapter 14, verse 1 says, "A fool has said in his heart, there is no God." Don't be a fool. Well, there it is, another episode of Pondering God, and I thank you guys for joining me. If you like what you heard, there's a subscribe button down below the video. You can share it, you can like it. I appreciate all those things. And again, thank you for joining me. I look forward to next time. See you later.